It's now the third week of the 2014 Atlantic hurricane season. No storms, and likely none in the next few days. When you look at the graph, though, of climatology, the storms over the past 100 years, and you kind of place them on a graph that shows the frequency of when they develop, yeah, it's nothing unusual to be this quiet. In fact, typically, we don't have our first named storm until July and our first hurricane until early August. So the forecast period here is still very early in the season. As many of you know, the peak of hurricane season is in early September. There is sometimes a secondary peak in the month of October. Now, it's at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season when we pay very close attention to the areas close to home, especially in June and July. We get one storm here in June about every 2 years, and typically they develop in the Western Caribbean or Southern Gulf and then move across the peninsula or closer to Texas. And particularly in this season, because of the developing El Nino, there is some data to support that there's a higher likelihood of storms forming closer to home. Even though the numbers overall are much lower, the storms that do form typically in El Nino years are closer to the United States. It is quiet, though. I mean, there are a few clusters of thunderstorms, but they're primarily over land masses because of the same reason we get them here in Florida, the daytime heating and those sea breezes. It's been a little unsettled across the country of Mexico and the Western Caribbean, but that is calming down as well. Now, we get a break here in the state of Florida, the northern half. The tropical moisture gets suppressed to the south, but notice it starts to build again into the southern Gulf and up into the peninsula as we approach the weekend. The earlier models that were showing low pressure developing here in the Western Caribbean, it's not going to happen. Wind shear, as you see, those yellows and orange colors, just a bit too strong. So no formation expected for the next 10 days in the Atlantic Basin.